Chapter 68. The noisy helicopter rose up from behind the lab building. It hovered about 30 feet off the ground. Max shielded her eyes, and she could make out a man who looked a lot like Yahov sitting up front in the cockpit, working the controls. Two other men that Max didn't recognize were seated in the open cargo bay behind him. "Shall I shoot it down, little girl?" added Kabbalah. "We have RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades." "No," said Max. "Let them go. Peace cannot be attained through violence." Ooh, good words of wisdom. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. Please don't blow anything up." Okay. Kabbalah gestured to his troops. They lowered their weapons. When one of the men in the rear of the helicopter, a stick-thin one, saw the weapons being lowered, he yelled something to the pilot. The helicopter swooped forward and descended until it was hovering maybe 20 feet off the ground, right in front of Max. The thumping noise was deafening. The skinny man with a toothy smile too big for his head leaned out of the cargo bay. He was holding what looked like a radio microphone. "Be careful, Max," shouted Carl. "That's Dr. Zim." "Hello, Max," the creepy Dr. Zim said into the microphone. His amplified voice echoed out of speakers attached to the chopper's landing skids. "It's good to see you again." "Again?" Max shouted up at the helicopter. "Have we met before?" Oh, I wonder why this piece of hair is so long. Is it going to come out? Nope. Just weird. Put that back there. "Yes, when you were very, very young. We spent a good deal of time together." Dr. Zim tossed out a rope ladder. "Come with me, Max. I know who you are. I know where you come from. I know everything you've ever learned or yearned to do." Max froze in shock. This man, this greedy doctor, knew who she was? Max looked to Carl and Isabel. They were shouting something, but she couldn't hear what it was. The helicopter noise was too deafening. "Come with me, Max," Dr. Zim repeated through his microphone. "Climb up and you will have all the answers you've been searching for your entire life." Max slowly raised her hand. The first rung of the roped ladder bounced around against her fingertips. If what Dr. Zim had said was true, then she was inches away from discovering everything she had ever wanted to know. Who she was, who her parents were, where she came from, how she ended up in New York City, and why her last name was Einstein. She could finally solve the mystery of who she was. "Grab hold and I will pull you up," Dr. Zim said. "I can tell you all about your past." Max almost did as he instructed, but then she looked to her friends, Carl and Isabel, Klaus and Vihan. She thought about the Changemakers Institute and her idea for bringing renewable energy to all the places in the world where it was needed most. How reliable electricity might even change the warlord Kabila's life. How it might spare the village children from a doomed life in the cobalt mines. She lowered her hand and let the rope ladder flap in the whirlybird's breeze. "Maybe some other time, Doc," she shouted up at Dr. Zim. "Today, I'm much more interested in the future than in the past." Dr. Zim looked furious. I lost my spot. "How dare you speak to me like that? Do you know who I am?" "Yeah," said Max. "You're the guy who's about to be blown out of the sky if he doesn't take off, like, right now." She turned to Kabila and shouted through her cupped hands. You still have those RPGs you were talking about, don't you? Many, Cabela shouted back. He signaled to his men. Fire a warning shot! A small rocket whizzed out of a shoulder-mounted tube and streaked past the helicopter's rear rotor. Dr. Zim raised a pistol. Max froze. Cabela tackled her from behind. They hit the dirt together, but there was no gunshot. The helicopter engine roared. Dust swirled as the angry bird lifted straight up into the air. Zim's pistol was now casually pointed at the sky, and he smirked at Max like pointing a gun at her was a funny joke. We'll meet again, Max, cried the mad doctor's amplified voice as the helicopter dipped its nose and sailed off to the horizon. I promise you, we will meet again.